Greetings, dear listeners, both online and in person. My name is Artūrs, and I am the co-host of student podcast Artūrs. It is the first podcast about architecture in Latvia. And speaking of first, I also have the honor to start the first discussion on RTU, Future Island floating stage. And I also have the honor to open this stage to the public in Talk Festival Lampa. So the Island of Future is created by Riga Technical University with its main partners, the energy company Ignitis Group, the Ministry of Transport and the Information Technology company Adaptive, and other cooperation partners, the Ministry of Smart Administration and Regional Development, the companies LVR Flotte, Lemon Latvia, Kompor, Betriton, Milwaukee Tool Latvia, Princeton, Amat Adventures, and the RTU 3D Concrete Printing Science Laboratory. Okay, we can get to the conversation now. So, we truly live in a time of great changes. What once was considered a science fiction is now sort of becoming the reality. The topic of today's conversation is architecture of day after tomorrow. Climate crisis, overpopulation, technological advances, most notably artificial intelligence, new construction materials and methods, it is really changing the way we make our world, influencing our patterns and societal norms, begging the question, how will it affect the way we shape the world around us? In the future of unknown, architects must be the ones who are one step ahead of their own time, thinking about not just the day after tomorrow, but well after the time of their own. So today, with experts, we'll discuss the challenges of the future in architecture and the need of new balance between man and nature, between opportunities of new technologies and the changes that will follow in the following decades. So without further ado, I would like to introduce us to our speakers. So today with us we have Helmut Nežbort, who is a young architect. Not long ago, he actually made quite a name for himself with his master project on Mars Station. And Helmut is also worked in several well-respected architectural firms, including OpenAD, Lauder Architects, Aether, and also has produced numerous independent works. Welcome, Helmut.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Matīss Šteinert, who is both an architect and an anthropologist, lecturer at Riga Technical University and Riga Stradiņu University. He has also spoken publicly on a broad range of topics and worked in restoration of Riga Historic Center. Welcome, Matīss. The next speaker is Lilija Čepelieja, who is an Ukrainian entrepreneur specializing in technologies in construction and innovation. So, also founder of 3D concrete printing company Princeton. Welcome, Lily. And lastly, Helmi Marie Langseppe, who is an Estonian architect, paradoxically made a work on not building at all. Helmi has researched habitation in extreme environments and done all sorts of very interesting projects, developed curatorial concepts, made exhibition designs, and specializes in restoration and heritage conservation. Welcome, Helmi. Okay, so we can begin. Yeah, do everyone understand English? Yeah, great. So we can go to ask our questions. So I want to start with this sort of very broad question about, and just so we can get to know each other a bit better, I want us each to answer quite shortly and just first things that come to your mind. If you think about the world in the following decades, and you would have to name 3 things that you think are going to change, both in architecture or just in general, what are the first things that come to your mind? Maybe Helmi, you would like to start.
Okay, thank you. I think we have like no other choice than to start using or reusing the old materials more. And I think that also this means that architects will be more, I guess, involved into or in the policy makings because it's super difficult to just say that let's use the old materials, but how and why and how much. And I think that, like, I see it already now, like the roots are already there, that so many architects also find it very intriguing, like the policy or of how things work and how architects can like make these shifts. Because sometimes when you look at the like large construction processes, they seem like a great barriers that are very difficult to get into it. But through policies, I think that it's enabling to do it. So I guess it's not 3, but I think it's what comes to mind.
I think it's one huge that you can have like more than 3
Yeah,
underneath. Thank you, Helmi. Well, we can go on.
Yeah, for me it's exciting to see development in technological development coming into architecture. For example, nowadays we don't use generative programs that much, but I think in the coming years that could become a norm. The computer for helping us generate more efficient, less waste producing buildings. And the other thing is also the change in the construction sites as itself, them becoming more robotized, safer for humans to work, and in the same time becoming more with higher quality.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting, and it's a really nice platform here to speak. I'm Matīss, and what I think about the nearest future or future for architecture is that we are, like few years after graduation, we are splitting in so many different directions, and we are branching out our specialization in architecture. One is working with the policy, another is working with the heritage, another is working with the technology, other is working with human involvement into the design process. And I think when we are talking about the technology and people who are taking over our title of architecture, also sometimes IT guys are calling themselves architects, right? Which annoys me a little bit, but returning back to actual architecture, I think what we have to face is that in this branching out, not to lose what is architecture for ourselves, because the worst thing that can happen is that we become the graphic designers of buildings, and that's very bad. So we don't want to branch out or specialize too deep into this field, so we have to keep and remain the big scope, the larger scope of the process of creating built environment, and I think that's very important to focus on.
Lily, can you?
Yes, thank you. Well, if naming 3 things that came up to my mind, to me, firstly, we'll be moving faster to sustainability, material-wise and stuff-wise. The second one is, to me, is green and smart cities. And the third one is more of a human-centric design from an architecture point of view.
Thank you. So many different ideas, and it's actually wonderful. But I want to start a bit more about technologies and how it's going to change the way we architects or the way we build our world. So considering the rapid advancement of technologies, especially artificial intelligence, and as Matīss already said, that there are several IT guys who are already constructing buildings. There are some programs, and some firms are utilizing artificial intelligence to build floor plans, to make visualizations. And so the role of architect is kind of shifting in a way. And now in the future, do you think architects should learn to utilize these tools? In what ways do you think they will shape the profession? And perhaps you yourself are using some of the AI tools in construction or in architecture.
I can speak for myself. I'm using them quite oftenly. For example, for the first sketches, we usually use the AI image generators to create like the first impressions. Which we also later show to the client to in this way, it's much easier to find the first direction on which the client wants to go while having to do less work. But in the sense of AI replacing architecture, I don't see it that close in the near future, because in the same as the pictures seem quite nice, they don't give you the results that you usually want to, and a lot of the time it's just like pressing the button 50 times and trying to get the right picture you were searching for. And the same thing goes for floor plans. Yes, they can generate like a general floor plan that kind of works, but usually when you look much more deeper in it, it lacks a lot of qualities and has a lot of so-called hallucinations and like weird places for maybe, for example, maybe you have a bed in a bathroom or something like that. So there is a long way to go, and I think at the moment, the AI models are mostly just prediction machines. But at that point, when the AI becomes really self-conscious, then maybe they can replace the architect. But then we're going to live in a different future altogether.
I think we talk a lot about how AI can simplify our work and do the floor plans and do it well. But for me personally, I really find intriguing how we can grasp the complexity with AI, because I think like not long ago we did exhibition on timber and woods, and for that we also really investigated how the natural material is such a complex thing, and but to use it in an industry we need to simplify it. So I guess I would be really intrigued how we could really, I guess, work into that complexity with the tools, with AI maybe, because it is super complex worlds that we can't grasp, we can't standardize, and maybe we don't have to, but we do need to have some kind of strength and other properties that we can put a value on. And for that, I think that to really kind of have that complexity of the nature and work within it in the industry of architecture, I really see that potential in the technology.
Matīss?
Yeah. From my practice as an architect rather than anthropologist, I could split it in three different areas when designing a building. One is meeting the requirements of local building code, like being a lawyer actually more than an architect. The second is doing the design part. It's just 1/3 of the work. And the third 1/3 of the work is being a mediator between different involved parties and being a negotiator of your idea and being a person that is describing to the clients, to the developer, to city council, to everybody involved, telling the idea of our architecture. And here is the good thing of our future, that you actually have to process the information yourself to become a good negotiator and good representer of these ideas. So a pile of information that's summarized by AI is good to get into your mind, but you still have to present yourself well enough to deliver the idea further on for those who are going to pay for the most expensive field of art, right? So being a human and making these relationship between humans is very, very, very important in this field, where AI and technology is still a little bit behind.
So you think that AI and computers, they're not going to replace architects?
Not on a negotiation process. I think people will make decisions amongst themselves, maybe comparing the data that's processed by AI and what they have provided, but not the process itself. So being a diplomacist or like being a good representer is very important for architects.
Okay. Lily, you with your innovative technologies and materials, you're kind of also leading the way for a new also another technological advancement, and so we all know that, at least some of us know that construction is one of, if not the most waste-producing industry on the planet, and it is contributing to over 1/3 of the total amount of trash. And also concrete is one huge player in this. Perhaps, Lily, could you tell us a bit about Princeton innovation and how it is, in a way, maybe trying to combat this climate crisis?
Yes, thank you for your question. Yeah, so it's pretty simple. So the moment someone wants to make a complex shape of something, we can actually divide it into pieces and make it in concrete. So you can actually see that something is made with the help of us next to the stage. And what I see, and we actually had a talk with our architects, with one of the co-founders, about this talk about concrete. So it's not that sustainable, it's not that easy to work with, and it's a lot of trash. But still, if we talk about constructing something, the thing that we can do now is just to adjust and to keep on moving in this direction, and just to try out new different materials, because the mixture that we actually are making and testing and trying and teaching our machine to do these shapes without mistakes, that is actually the path we're taking to cut down the trash. And that's how we see. But again, it's all about testing, working endlessly, and seeing the result and working as a team. So, if in simple words.
So these 3D printed concrete models or buildings, they can be also used by recycling existing concrete, or is it what is the technological process to it, and how far are we maybe to be able to produce real buildings?
Well, we do actually. It depends on the printer itself. Yeah, so we, as a manufacturing business model, we see it as dependent on 3D printer, because it can be huge or it can be small. But anyway, when we talk about materials, still it's a lot of testing, and we, as a small innovative company, are one of leading this field and looking for partners and looking for these, guys who are fans of their job and looking for materials. And it's not only about recycled concrete, it's about mixture of different things. So to me, I'm not the professional in materials stuff, that's for sure. If we talk about business models and we talk about, entrepreneurship, I can be of a help. But what I see now is just a matter of time and finding the proper mixture that can be, working with any 3D concrete print. Well, it's all about, finding and looking. But now, as a period of testing, and it's a period of, let us call MVP, we still can adjust the existing 3D printers and give these trials to any mixture that we have.
I just wanted to add that I think, especially with concrete, it really kind of highlights the fact that actually, basically no material is either good or bad, but sometimes one material has to become a culprit in a certain time to I think concrete is at the moment has a lot of negative symbols attached to it, which doesn't mean that it wouldn't have places where it's super appropriate and good to use. I just remember another talk by infrastructure engineer, where he said that in Estonia, large roads are built with the sand, which is also kind of scarce material. But if we did it in concrete, it would be such a less wasteful thing. But it's more expensive. But in that sense, concrete in that place, I guess would make more sense if it only was also affordable. So I think with materials, it's very interesting when it sort of comes to symbolize like something bad, and then you kind of miss out like what are the good ways to use it and what are the like exciting ways to experiment it with, like different mixtures, like you said, and such. So yeah, thanks. I think it's interesting.
So in a way, we are kind of over-exaggerating the use of concrete, isn't it? Like we are not using it where it should be used, but maybe we're just trying to build everything out of concrete. Maybe that is a problem, no?
Yeah, it's sometimes about marketing, you know. If a concrete has a good marketing team, they will get its benefits. Yeah.
Okay. So undoubtedly, to be aware of all these technologies, of all these advancements, it is important to have a good education that is up to date, that know what's relevant. And so we're here on Riga Technical University stage, but I advise you to speak your mind, and you don't have to. It's not sponsored talk, so perhaps there are some practices that you feel or felt that are dated, where you studied and are not taught well enough, or not taught at all in universities, but education should put more emphasis in. Helmut, perhaps you could start, as not so long ago student yourself.
Yes, I'm going to speak only, of course, of the time I was still studying, because now things could probably have been changed. But my experience was that maybe the emphasis on making projects wasn't enough in my opinion, because I spent quite a lot of time outside the normative hours, which we had to work on these projects, testing new ideas, because I was always curious about different things, maybe some experimental things, and a lot of the time I didn't have enough time to do these experiments, and in the end scrambling for time, sitting way before the deadlines till 4 in the night, up trying something, and that was what I was missing. And also the other thing was the huge emphasis on building regulations. That I don't want to say we don't need to take them in mind at all, but I believe that university is a place for experimentation and finding yourself, finding tools, and finding the way you want to work, and maybe innovating, not that much trying to apply to the regulations, because you're going to do it during your working years anyway. You're going to learn them when you're going to start an office job, and they are changing all the time anyway, so that's a changing thing. And yeah, that's all. Then that's also the one thing I would also recommend to the new students: to try a lot of new tools and a lot of new methods, and experiment a lot, so later in professional life you have a broader view of the possibilities, and then it's much more easier to get back to, for example, the same parametric modeling, or at one time I was quite interested in simulating urban landscapes, how the microclimate of the cities is changing while you are building or putting more greenery into it, and working with these computer models.
How about the rest of you? Although not students that long ago, but still, perhaps you yourself have experienced some seeing new students, new workers come in. Have you noticed maybe there is something that you think lack in the new graduates of universities, both in architecture or just materials or engineering?
I think I could picture in a little bit. What I graduated kind of medium time long ago, some 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more. What I lacked in university education was like freehand drawing for visual representation is very, very important. That's why we learn it in architecture school as well. But architecture school is also called academic institution, which is requiring academic argument building. and academic argument building is needed. It needs the knowledge how to express yourself and how to coin your idea, how to make an argument, how to build this. And that's what I lacked really a lot, but asked me to study something else, like anthropology afterwards, that I didn't know how to write an essay, how to coin my opinion, how to formulate myself. And architects, when being these mediators in such a different fields, really, really need this knowledge on how to be convincing on and actually be convinced themselves of what they're talking. So that's that being an academic institution also is very, very important for architecture school. So learning very, very basics of academic thinking. Like this is really, although we probably don't use it very much in real life, but we use it while doing anything else. There's another idea that came to my mind over when listening to you was that few weeks ago I had conversation with a very, very good friend of mine. She graduated from Pratt Institute in New York and then worked in Zurich in Switzerland, and now is based in Jordan. And she sent me this link saying, hey, did you guys know that this amazing Riga Technical University guys are presenting in Warsaw the 3D printing concrete ideas, and this is their article. It looks like you guys are really on top of it, like you really know the thing. And I was like, oh, I didn't actually know that. This cross-communication between different departments is very important. It's like architecture school should be connected with those guys who are 3D printing concrete in Riga Technical University, which probably needs more communication and collaboration between these fields, because architecture is, in the end, very much cross-interdisciplinary field. So we need to cooperate with those who are inventing different AI tools, different 3D printing tools, and like to actually be on top of technology, like you said. That's
Yeah, for sure. One thing I think I noticed is that I hear you both say is that the study process is very narrow. There is just you have to do practical models, and so I think one thing is definitely freedom in this, right? So you can just learn to do more than just the thing you're going to do probably later on and have the chance to do yourself.
And may I, one more thing that came to my mind when you asked about this education process is when I was studying in architecture school, my hobby was improvisation theater. And I was so surprised that you can create a creative idea with a technique without actually sitting at a blank page and staring at it for hours and thinking, what should I'm a creative person, I should do something. In architecture school, we didn't have this methodology, how to be creative in a very methodological way, like teaching creativity, it is actually a technique. It is not something that you have it or you don't have it. Everyone can tell a story compelling. Everyone can invent a story compelling. You just have to tap into the techniques, and where it's used very much is user experience design. And those who are tracking the service designers, they are very well tracking these creative ways on how to design the process and involve different players. And they break down the product design or process design into storytelling practices. And combining these two things, storytelling, design, and architecture is something that also really needs to be done. Like architecture tutors shouldn't just come to the class and sit and being asked for their advice. They have to come with their own agenda and program on how to become creative. The kids need to be taught how to become a creative persons, not expect the most creative to become good architects and the rest will become some sort of lawyers in city council.
I think this, in a way, returns to the first questions about artificial intelligence and the technologies that are kind of able to make floor plans. Yes, maybe they are bad, but perhaps in the future years, the technologies will advance, right? And maybe the architect, as we know, as technician who is able to just create these technical drawings, well, could be, and maybe it will be switched by a computer, and then this creative person, this one who is able to create those ideas, the mediator between society and maybe the built environment. Perhaps that's the future of architects as a profession. Well, what is maybe your thoughts on that?
I can share the experience that I'm having now. Well, not for my lifetime, but I'm leading a charity project for teens. We are actually helping them to study STEM education. And, well, we are dealing with the girls and boys of 16 and 17 years old that are expecting to take their choice in life. So what I've noticed, and we've noticed with a team of psychologists and teachers, that, well, I might name 3 top things that are crucial. That's first is understanding your own power. And I remember myself that it took me years of studying in university or at school to understand that I got my own. The second thing is communication skills. Because, you know, when I'm sitting and seeing new people, 30 or 40 people in class, I have no idea how to talk, how to behave, and how to get myself being heard. And the third thing is working in teams. I mean, when we're becoming adults, we take another courses, another classes, and having this workshops all together and trying to make things happen in team. So that's what I've noticed from the experience I do have now, and that really can help shape the future.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on my own experience. I think in my academy, it was more like research by design kind of approach, which really encouraged having like bold ideas and I guess even experimenting, even though there was never, again, enough time for it. But I think what I really lacked was, in a way, maybe, I guess, like a business side to it. Because I think like the approach that you can like think whatever you want at the academy and then you graduate and then you go on to a serious business, I think it really like misses out all the things that you would really want to actually do, and even to believe that it's possible to do these things. Because you have, I think we had that kind of approach that experiment at school, and then you have no other career path than to go to like a good office or something like that. But if you do want to do something else or have like experimental career, then you do need to have like a business understanding of how to build it up. And I would love if we had opportunity to kind of know how to, how to actually like go about like designing your own path in architecture, I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just came last week. I listened to the interview, not interview. It was a YouTube recording of a presentation given by Juhani Pallasmaa and Peter Zumthor. They were meeting in, I guess, Oulu maybe, for some sort of conference, and they were discussing their architecture talks. And what was striking, both of them are really genius on their fields. I really admire both of their works. And Peter Zumthor, I start with Juhani Pallasmaa is very structured, very research-based, very academic, and whatever he tells has some sort of mental modeling in his mind is going on there. He's very, very, very based on academic thinking and very, very academic. And they were like discussing, asking each other the questions. And Peter Zumthor was completely not getting anything, but he was saying and actually striking his, punching him and saying, no, you are too mental. Just be more emotional. And he's the genius architect, right? He's building amazing buildings. And he was not getting the concepts what Juhani Pallasmaa was telling him, But he was telling, be more emotional. Don't lose. You are losing yourself in all these constructions. How can we use this? Like, I like to come in my workshop studio and just put things together and see what's happening. Without this, so this research-based education and intuitive education, they are both very valued. And I'm really sorry for those guys who are organizing academic and architecture education. That's really, really hard to. Should we do the research, or should we actually experiment and try to make new combinations first and then probably apply some knowledge on it and try to analyze it afterwards? This is a never-ending question for me also. Like, I don't know what's better.
Yeah. Okay. I think definitely one thing is that after university, the path is kind of closed. You're not closed, but there is like a clear path. You're going to finish, you're going to work in the office, then it's kind of, well, I would say straightforward path, at least for most of the architects. But Helmi, I heard that you are kind of making it in a very different way. Perhaps you could tell me more about how your firm works and the way it approaches the problems.
Yeah, well, I would say that my studio is dedicated to experimental architecture, and the way it works is like a funding based. So basically, I will have a project in mind, and I will have to find or work out the funding for it myself. And it's like in architecture field, it's quite the opposite usually, that you have a client who has a project that they want you to have a design. But I guess I really wanted to go to the core idea of like what I would like to do and why, and then experiment within it. And it's like we talked a bit before, that it's quite a hassle sometimes to try to find like the proper fundings, but it's super like worthwhile, and I think it brings about like a really interesting collaborations as well on the long. Yeah.
This just got me thinking that perhaps there is kind of this problem with what we are expected as architects to produce. So most of the jobs, they don't really need perhaps the creative thinking that what we're talking about right now. And so is there a way to like, I don't know, how to get society and how to get the clients to more listen to the, not just square meters and that thing, but just to like architecture research and the other part of the field.
What I have problems in, like, I think we had this square meter craze some 10 years ago, maybe. It was really crazy that you have to squeeze out, or maybe that was specific conditions of the office I worked in on that time. Or maybe it was the economical boom what happened there. Then, or it's even older, like maybe 15 years ago was that we were really calculating every square meter and trying to find every loophole in the regulations, how to build more square meters, how to squeeze out more. Like you could do this extension a little bit further if you do this and that. Like it is a creative way of designing as well, like finding a loophole. So I admire that. But I think this square meter counting business probably now, at least for me, feels like it's a little bit calming down, and we are looking for the added value, what architecture can add. Otherwise, it's accounting. The square meter, looking for square meters, it's accounting. I don't find this as an architect's job. It's rather a research of building code kind of profession. It's different field, or developer work. But how to add the added value, like how to make a building that's becoming a footprint for the history, for some. How to build a monument for day after tomorrow. And the buildings of today will be the monument. And maybe we can also talk about the heritage afterwards. But the heritage of the future is today's wasteland, something we don't evaluate, like something that we have enough. So probably the square meter thing might be for me at least, thank God it's over.
But surely we can talk also about heritage. And interestingly, while we are here talking about the future, most of Latvians actually live in houses that well outlive themselves. So most of them being Soviet-era apartment buildings, and so these buildings, they are the most often practice to make them suitable for today's energy efficiency standard is just to renovate them, without often perhaps taking in account the aesthetical effect that it will have on the urban area and the quality of the urban fabric. And do you think maybe there is some way that we should rethink the way we address our heritage, the way we try to make existing buildings suitable for today's environment? And maybe there are some good examples how it can be done.
No good examples.
Now, there are some good examples. In France, the office, just forgot the name of it. No, but they have like few renovated buildings, and they do it quite differently than it's done here. Here, it's mostly just slapping out some insulation and trying and hoping that it's gonna stick, which sometimes doesn't, and hoping it's gonna look at least a bit better. But in France, what they did is they created an extension for the building, not only working with the regulations to increase the energy efficiency, but also trying to increase the quality of life for the inhabitants. What they did was just to add like a glazed balcony on the both sides of these blockhouse buildings. And what these balconies achieved was extra square footage for the inhabitants of the building, which also increased the price of their property. The second thing was these glazed balconies gave the opportunity to gain passive solar insulation, which heats the building by itself. Yeah. And this method also allowed them not to place any additional insulation for the building. Just this balcony, which was glazed, was sufficient to increase the energy efficiency of the building, and in the end, creating a whole different aesthetic of the building, and like getting a bit away from this post-Soviet architecture.
Yeah, I think when we're especially talking about like the Soviet time architecture and these apartment buildings and the urban fabric, I think that it really like leads into the question like where does our home start? Because I think like what if we said that these houses are fine, like that they're just fine, that we need to insulate them, all right? But I think that we can never get over how bad usually the landscape around them is. Like usually the areas between these old buildings are quite empty. They're wastelands, but not in a good way. Usually there's not like a nice street structure or anything like that. Usually there's not enough greenery or trees or just like different kinds of nature and different kinds of things. So I think that this is like really a question for urban planning in these areas, because like I think it's difficult for us in a way to value these apartment buildings just by themselves, because there is not really much to take. They're just buildings, but they're homes to someone else. And we just can't tear them down. It's too many of them, and why should we? But we could make the areas between the buildings so much better, and no one would have to vacate the houses during the process. So I think we're kind of sometimes, I guess, talking about the wrong things when it comes to these block houses. Because, yeah, we do need to insulate them, but it's not going to solve the problem. We are not going to like them anymore, even if we do so. Yeah.
I totally agree with Helmi because as myself, I have lived like 20 years in this kind of buildings, and about the surroundings, I could it's quite green, and I think there is a lot of opportunities. Of course, it's not in such a great quality, but that has a lot of the time to do with socio-economic situation of the city regions where these block houses are located. But what I wanted to say, I think there is a lot of qualities in these buildings. Okay, maybe there are some issues with how they are built. There are like poor connections and so on. But at the same time, they are really structurally sound because back in the day they did the calculations. The coefficient for construction was 2 times than today, so they're gonna stand quite a long time still. And the other thing is, plan-wise, I think they are quite efficient plans for nowadays standards. They aren't too big, but aren't also, they are like, I think like in a good place, and there is a lot of possibilities renovating these buildings and creating a really affordable housing. Because and also on this point is around Riga there are a lot of new big apartment block constructions, while still in Riga it's 1/3 of the buildings are empty, and these new apartment blocks, I believe, aren't that affordable for the most people, and these old Soviet buildings still are. And I think there is a possibility by renovating them, actually still them being more affordable than these newly constructed buildings.
Yeah. This it doesn't really matter from the perspective of society if the building is ugly or not in the end when it's renovated, because during the building of the building, we are actually building the society. And this process, what these guys who have renovated the most ugly, energo-efficient building now, imagine the worst case scenario. Like, this is crazy ugly building. Like, it's just a slap on some plastic on it and then paint it. And like, it's ugly building, but the crazy talks and discussions and fights and agreement that they reached in the end has built a community there. And this community there is something that builds a resilient society. And resilience in our society is now something that we really, really need, maybe more than energy efficient buildings. So while building these buildings and renovating them, we are actually also building the society. And this is very, very important point that we actually don't see, and we will see it maybe day after tomorrow when we'll need the resilient society. So the buildings can be ugly. One of my favorite Riga City Council policies that has been done over last 10 years or 15 years is subdividing the microrayons into neighborhoods, making smaller neighborhoods that are given these neighborhood-oriented funding that they can decide themselves what they can use the money on how to make their lives better and neighborhood nicer. And that's also a community building and resilient society building. So in Riga city scale, I think it worked very well. I really hope that in Latvian national scale, this energy efficiency building process will kick on very soon, and we will start to build our own societies around more trusting each other. That we can take credit together, like 500,000 or 1 million, and trust that it will be delivered.
Thank you. And with this, I believe we can go to the question part. So we should have QR codes on the chart. But if you have any questions, then feel free to ask them. Yeah. Yes.
Hey, yeah. Hello, colleagues.
I really appreciated this discussion, so thank you very much, and especially in the time when Riga Technical University is in this transformation process. And yeah, I really appreciate that you discussed about things we have to take in account. What should we learn for future architects? But there is a question to Matīss. You told that experiments and research, they doesn't go together. What did you mean with that?
I had amazingly talented classmate in architecture school in first year. He didn't get further than first year, but he was brilliant. He really was brilliant. He transferred to Art Academy because I think it was much better for him also, and he felt better there. But like I had my own idea on it. We had to work in teams, and I had my own concept. Like, yeah, I want to build some sort of, I don't know what is it, facade that looks like a tunnel or something like that. And I researched how to twist the perspective and looked and try to draw it and try to make it, and I just didn't have skills to deliver my idea. And he was like, yeah, the idea is good, but what if we just turn it upside down, squeeze it, cut it a little bit, fold it? He didn't know what he was doing, but he knew with his back of the brain what he was doing. He was creating he actually solved our project. Our team got very good grade in the end. My grade would have be very mental and very research based, and it would fail just because we couldn't deliver the tunnel in the building kind of look. But his idea was like, yeah, just reverse it and make it some sort of optical illusion, and it worked very well. It worked fine. And then I was like, okay, this is also an art. It's not just mathematics and physics that I studied before. However, that can be taught, this creative thinking process. There are methods that this cutting, folding, and twisting can be taught as a sequence steps how to achieve this result in the end. So it can, those guys like me who was from physics major background in high school can also learn how to become creative by method and technology. Like those guys in improvisation theater, they are the most boring person who feel unsure how to present themselves on the stage. That's from my experience. They are just amazed that actually, if you do these and these and these steps, tell the beginning of the story one person, another adds something else, ask something suggestion from the audience. In the end, there is a structure below in the game, and it tells you the story, and you just color it. And then, when you understand that every design process has a story behind it, it just needs to be like the variables should have been changed, then you can learn it as a research-based experience in the end. But this is not being touched in Riga on my time. I don't know, maybe now it's a little bit different. But when 15 years ago I was studying, we didn't have this. We had just this approach, come with your idea and we'll tell you is it good or not, and you just go back and draw again. So it was very much natural born talent looking kind of institution that was dividing those who had it and who don't have it, and those who had it just graduated, and those who didn't have it went to different schools. Yeah, I don't know if I was okay.
Great. I see there is another question from Sandra. Please, please.
Okay. Yes, thank you for this really great discussion. And this is quite maybe precise question for academic environment. And I think all of us are interested in your experience as experts in such topic as relation or balance during studies between academic work, academic studies, and practice. Because in education of architecture, there are two main paradigms, we could say. Of course, there are a lot of more, but the main path, and one is to involve practice into student life as soon as possible, because real architectural architecture come from practice, and students are very, very important to be common with this real life as soon as possible. And another path or another paradigm is no practical work, no work in practice during all studies at all. It's different world. It's just take your energy, take your resource. You need to be students for 100% for all this study time. And yes, as in all theories, of course, it's something in between different paths, but maybe from your experience as students and your now knowledge as practicing architecture, please some maybe comments on this. Thank you.
Well, my opinion is, I think there's definitely place in practice during study years, but yeah, my experience was like I place way too much importance to practice. So during also study years when we didn't have the official practice time, I was still working, and actually in the end, I felt I kind of missed out a bit too. I would actually have liked it more that I would spend much more time in school and doing projects there, because you can always work after the university. But I would probably recommend what I have heard from other schools, that you have practice after your first year, because you then have like already some kind of knowledge about the field, and then in the first year you can actually have this real praxis and understand the kind of intricacies of working in an office quite early, in the contrast of having praxis maybe later in years where you understand that it's maybe not what you were searching for. But I definitely think there is place for praxis, but shouldn't be overdone.
I think it's also important to kind of know that the university, although or academy, it kind of feels like a completely free environment. It really is not. And it's like every university or academy has their own sort of, I guess, not agenda, but they have their taste, and it might not be yours. And in that sense, I think that like having other experiences in the real world or in a practical world doesn't only benefit you in a way that you see how things work. You might see how things don't really work, but you do get the other perspectives, and in that sense I think it just broadens your mind and also your own freedom, because you just might encounter other ideas that you can bring back to the university and just implement these there as well, because it's very easy to get also lost in that bubble, which is not the entire world. It's just your university that has certain ideas that are there at the moment and might be changed again, like in 5 years. Yeah.
I would like to argue with this a little bit that I know that architecture offices in architecture education are giving this real-life touch to what's actually going out there and how people are using it. Also learning a lot of technical details and representational details and ideas on how to just seeing a building construction site is very, very valuable for architect. Like you will, and that's very important. But the situation where architecture students have time for at half-time or full-time job during their full-time academic studies is not a sign of top 500 university. It's a sign of actually poor education.
I meant summer.
Summer, yeah, but summer probably. But that's like our students have full-time jobs.
It never ends in the summer.
Okay, great. So it is almost 2, and so I have to say that it was very, very interesting discussion, and I'm very lucky that you all came here, and I'm thankful to all the listeners and all of our guests. So let me turn my right page. So yeah, today with us were Matīss Šteinert. Please give some applause. Yes. Lilija Čepelieja, Helmi Marie Langseppe, Helmut was here, and myself, Artūrs. So yeah, thank you all for having us, and see you on other discussions on this stage and otherwhere. So have a good Lampa experience.
Jūs klausījāties podkāstu Rokturis. Vairāk par jaunajām epizodēm meklējiet podkāsta Instagramā podcasts.rokturis. Podkāstu veido Alise Grebeņuka, Elizabete Dreimane, Artūrs Dāvids Bieziņš, Marija Ozola, Dominiks Cipkins un Toms Martins Šaķis.